Hey there, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Hefshin again. Today, we are going to be reviewing comparing and ordering decimals. So we are going to look at two examples here of numbers that contain decimals, and we're going to use a place value chart to compare those numbers first. So let's look at this first set of numbers that I have here in this pink color. So I have it set up like you would typically see on a worksheet or an assessment or something like that. And typically they're written horizontally like this. Now, I suggest that when you are presented with a problem like this, you rewrite those numbers vertically. Because remember, anytime that we're dealing with decimals, whether it's adding or subtracting or comparing, we need to line those numbers up so that the decimals are lined up in the same column. So in order to do that, the most effective way is to rewrite them vertically. So I'm going to start with this number here. I want you to look at it with me and let's read it together. 7,542 and 6/10. So we're going to come over here and we're going to rewrite that number in our place value chart. So remember, wherever the decimal is in the number, it needs to be lined up here. Well, here's our whole number places here. Here's our decimal, and then our decimal places. So since I only have this one digit after my decimal, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write it in my tenths place. And even though it's a place value chart, I like to rewrite my decimal so I can see it in each number. Now I'm going to write the digits that come before the decimal. So we have a 2 in the ones place, a 4 in the tens place, a 5 in the hundreds place, and a 7 in the thousands place. Okay? Now let's look at the next number there. 7,542 and 49 hundredths. So let's rewrite that number vertically right underneath the one that we're comparing it with. So here I have a decimal place, and then notice I have 2 digits after my decimal place there. I have a 4 in the tenths place and a 9 in the hundredth place. Now I'm going to come back and fill in my whole number digits. All right, so there we have it. We have both of the numbers that we're comparing here. And I need you to notice something over here. Now, here is a very common mistake that I have seen in my years of teaching. Students automatically think that just because a number has less places after the decimal, that number is a smaller number. That is not what that means. Remember, as we move to the right on our place value chart, our numbers actually get, or the values actually get smaller. So that doesn't necessarily mean that this number is larger. How do we fix that error, or how do we help to not make that error? Make sure that you match each place up with a digit. Make sure that all of your places are filled. So since my second number has a digit in the hundredths place, I want to make sure that I have a digit in my hundredths place here. Remember, we can add a 0 there and it does not change the value. So I'm going to put a 0 here. 6/10, remember we can compare that to dimes. It's like saying 6 dimes. Or we can say 60 hundredths, which is like saying 60 cents. Remember, 6 dimes and 60 cents are the same value. Okay, so now that I have both numbers written in the place value chart and all of my places are filled in with digits, I can begin comparing these numbers. Now, when we're comparing numbers, we want to start at the largest place value first. So let's look here. Both of these numbers begin in the thousands place. So I'm going to compare those 2 digits. Well, look here. Both of those digits are exactly the same. That means that the thousands place in this number has a value of 7,000, and the thousands place in this number is worth 7,000. So that means I need to move to the next place and compare those 2 digits. Again, those digits are the same, so they're equal. I'm going to have to move to the next place, which is the tens place. Those 2 digits are the same, so I need to move to the next one. Oh my goodness, look at that. Those 2 digits are also the same. So now we've reached our decimal place and we're gonna move into the tenths place. And I'm pretty sure I see something different there. Look here. There's a 6 in the tenths place here and a 4 in the tenths place here. Since the 6 is larger than the 4, it means that this whole number has a greater value than this whole number. So that means I will come here and in the box, I am going to put a greater than symbol because 7,542 and 6/10 is greater than 7,542 and 49 hundredths. So again, I want you to notice that just because a digit, just because a number has less digits in the decimal places does not necessarily mean that that number is smaller. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's why it's so important to add that extra placeholder 0 there. All right, let's look at this second example here. So we've got 11,011 and 100th, and then we have 11,101 and 1/10. So we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to put that in our place value chart because there's a lot of similar digits there, and we don't want to get confused. So again, I'm going to start at the decimal place so that I don't forget. And I see that I have 2 digits here, a 0 in the tenths place and a 1 in the hundredths place. Now I'm going to come in and fill in my places here. So I have a 1 in the ones place, a 1 in the tenths place, a 0 in the hundreds place, a 1 in the thousands place, and another 1 in the 10,000s place. Now let's look at this number here. I have a decimal and this number as well, but I only have 1 place after the decimal, and it is a 1 in the tenths place. And remember, I want those 2 numbers to line up evenly over there on the right side. So I'm going to add a placeholder 0 here. Remember, that does not change the value of this number. We're just representing it in a different way. Now I'm going to come here and put my digits. A 1 in the ones place, a 0 in the tens place, a 1 in the hundreds place, a 1 in the thousands place, and a 1 in the 10,000s place. Please excuse my crooked numbers there. I'm not very good when I don't have lines to follow. All right, so again, when we're comparing numbers, we always want to start in the greatest place to the left and work our way right. So let's compare these first 2 digits here. We have a 1 in the 10,000s place and a 1 in the 10,000s place. So that means we need to go to the next place there. Both of these have a 1 in the thousands place as well. So that means we're going to move over to the hundreds place, and that is where we see our first difference. So we can stop there. There is a 0 in the hundreds place in my first number. There is a 1 in the hundreds place in my second number. Since my first number has a 0 there, it means that the entire value of this number is less than the entire value of this number. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put a less than symbol there. And I would read this expression as 11,011 and 100 is less than 11,101 and 1/10. Okay, so that is how we compare those numbers when we have 2 numbers that we need to compare. When we're talking about ordering numbers, though, we typically have more than 2 numbers. So I just want to look at these 4 numbers that we have here, because when we're comparing, again, it would be best to list our numbers vertically. Well, we've already done that here. So let's look at the 4 numbers that we have listed vertically in our place value chart, and we've compared each set of them. Now we're going to try to put them in order from, let's do greatest to least, okay? So we're going to do the same concept. We're looking at the largest place first and working our way to the right. So we're looking for the largest number first because we're going from greatest to least. So I'm going to look in the 10,000s place. I know that it's going to be one of these 2 numbers because they both have a digit in the 10,000s place, but I can't compare them yet or can't order them because they both have a 1. So I'm going to do the same thing like when I'm comparing and move to the next place. They both still have a 1. Now I'm going to come here, 0 and 1. Since there's a 1 in this number and a 0 in this number, it means that this number is greater. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to put a number 1 because it's the greatest number. Now I'm going to put a 2 next to this one because we already said we know that these two are the bigger numbers. So this one comes second in my order of ordering these numbers. Now I'm going to come here. I'm going to look in the thousands place. They're the same. Hundreds are the same. Tens, ones, and here we go. We're at the tenths place again. So this time I'm looking for the largest of the two. 6 is larger, which means that in order from greatest to least, this number would come next. So I'm going to label it as a number 3, which means that this number right here is going to come last in order from greatest to least. Okay, so then I would say that 11,101 and 10 hundredths comes first. It's the greatest. Then 11,011 and 100th. Then 7,542 and 60 hundredths. And then finally, the least number of all is 7,542 and 49 hundredths. I hope that this cleared up for you a little bit more of comparing and ordering decimals. If you have any more questions, make sure that you let me know. Have a great day.